Hello everyone, this is Jack Frost with a little update for silver. Before we get into it, I want to say that I am currently doing gold analysis 5 times a week with a video at the end of each week. If that's something you're interested in, you can sign up for that at pureelliottwave.com using the link in the description below. Overall, price has declined with increasing range and momentum as the main Elliott Wave count expects. Elliott Wave first, technical analysis last. On the main bearish weekly chart, cycle waves 1 and 2 within grand supercycle wave C are expected to be over here and here, with cycle wave 3 now pulling price lower. Price has since moved down, breaking below support at the lower edge of this Elliott channel drawn around the primary movements within cycle wave 2, and price may now find resistance at this channel. As price has broken out of this channel, it adds confidence to this wave count, expecting overlapping third waves at minor and intermediate within cycle wave 3 to pull price lower. Overlapping third waves at these degrees should be unmistakable and should come with increased range and momentum. Within cycle wave 3, no second wave corrective movement can move above its start at 26.123, and super cycle wave C has a target calculated to reach 7.46, the 0.618 Fibonacci ratio of super cycle wave A. Within that, cycle wave 3 has a target calculated at 13.89, where it would reach equality in length with cycle wave 1. And within that, minor wave 3 of intermediate wave 3 has a target calculated at 20.57, the 1.618 Fibonacci ratio of minor wave 1. On the main daily chart, with the end of cycle wave 2 just over here, price is moving down for overlapping third waves at minute, minor, and intermediate degrees, with minuet waves 3 and 4 labeled complete just here. When it does arrive, minute wave 4 cannot move into minute wave 1 price territory at 22.330. Price has broken below this base channel drawn around the current intermediate degrees. Coming back to test resistance, price is now expected to move away for minute wave 3 and the end with minuet wave 5. The previous targets for minuet and minute wave 3 have been reached, and price is now expected to continue lower towards this target for minor wave 3 as mentioned on the weekly chart. There is an additional confidence point below 19.909 where the bullish wave count, as you will see in a minute, will be invalidated. And on the bullish weekly chart, cycle wave 2 is expected to be over at this low, with cycle wave 3 within super cycle wave 1 pulling price higher. Within cycle wave 3, primary wave 3 is expected to pull price higher, currently within the early stages of intermediate wave 3. Intermediate wave 2 has continued lower from the last analysis, and it has since broken below this base channel drawn around the current primary movements within cycle wave 3. This reduces the probability of this wave count. Intermediate wave 2 still has some ways to go before this wave count is invalidated at this point, where any second wave corrective movement within primary wave 3 cannot move below its start at 19.909. If intermediate wave 2 does reach this point, this wave count will be invalidated. Intermediate wave 2 is labeled a complete double zigzag with minor waves W, X, and Y, though if this structure continues, it may have to be relabeled. Now with price expecting to move up, primary wave 3 has a target calculated at 31.12, the 1.618 Fibonacci ratio of primary wave 1. And above that, cycle wave 3 has a target calculated at 46.82, the 1.618 Fibonacci ratio of cycle wave 1. And on the daily chart with the end of primary wave 2 within cycle wave 3, just over here, we can see more detail for intermediate wave 2 with minor W, X, and Y. Minor W, a single zigzag with an extended A wave. Minor X, a single zigzag with an extended C wave. And minor Y, a larger single zigzag. Price is now expected to increase through this base channel, where primary wave 3 should break through resistance, as it should have enough power with overlapping third waves at intermediate, primary, and cycle degree. We can see more detail here showing that this wave count has reduced probability as it has broken below this base channel and has since moved lower, and there is a small way to go before this wave count is completely invalidated. On the main weekly chart, price has declined below resistance at 22, with an initial push from volume as price moved below the moving average, and volume has since declined as price falls of its own weight. On balance, volume has previously broken out of support as price began to move through resistance at 24.5. though it currently has no new range and gives no signal. ADX is increasing, though below 15, giving no clear trend. If ADX does continue to increase towards 15 and above, it will give the strongest bearish signal it can as it increases from a low point and below both DX lines. RSI and money flow both neutral, and stochastics neutral, though nearing oversold. It has not entered oversold. ATR declines as price consolidates with a slight increase with recent bearish movement, which is standard movement overall. And on the technical daily chart, we can see more detail where price has fallen below resistance with an initial push on volume, though volume currently declines as price falls of its own weight. The volume profile remains bearish with stronger volume on these bearish candlesticks. On balance, volume has recently broken out of support, giving a bearish signal. ADX is increasing with a bearish trend. RSI is oversold, though it does not exhibit any divergence. Money flow is neutral and stochastics is oversold. ATR has increased quite sharply as price has fallen. We also see a death cross here where the 50-day moving average moves below the 200-day moving average. And currently all moving averages move down, price is below all, and with this death cross, we have a full bearish conclusion for the moving averages. Overall, this supports the main Elliott Wave count, expecting increased downwards movement. Just want to remind everyone that I am currently doing a gold analysis 5 times a week with a video at the end of each week. If that's something you're interested in, there should be a link in the description of this video below where you can sign up for that today at pureelliottwave.com. That's all for me with your update for silver. I hope everyone has a good weekend.